All right. Welcome to the Pigskin Payroll Podcast, where we talk all about ball and the coin that comes with it. We're a team dedicated to mastering the complexities of NFL contracts and NIL agreements. We're particularly passionate about exploring the financial and legal side of the game. Here, we dive deep into contract negotiations and structures, player valuations, and how all these deals actually impact the athletes and the teams they play for. Whether you're a football fan, someone just curious about the business side of football, you've come to the right place. My name is Tony Storniolo, and alongside me is my co-host Johnathan Thibodeau. Fortunately, our other co-host Ty Marth couldn't make it today, but he'll be here next week. Let's get started, Johnathan.
Yeah, let's get started, Tony. Appreciate that awesome introduction. First topic for today is going to be the NFL trade deadline. Everything kind of happened a couple weeks ago, but we saw 18 different moves happen at the deadline. We saw 5 receivers dealt, and just kind of want to see who had the best deal, who made the best move at the deadline. Talk to me a little bit about compensation and financials.
Absolutely, man. For me, that was one of the more fun NFL trade deadlines. Usually they tend to be, just off into the distance, but I feel like there was a lot of headline news. And I would say one of the bigger ones, given with the rise of this team coming up, was Marshawn Lattimore to the Commanders. I mean, I'm obviously going to miss the Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore battles in the NFC South. You know, just my fan. I like that brawling type wide receiver cornerback type matchup, but I think this was a great pickup for them. I mean, they received Marshawn Lattimore and a 2025 fifth rounder, and the Saints received a 2025 third, fourth, and sixth rounder. Honestly, from either side, I kind of think that this was pretty balanced out. I mean, the Saints are not looking like they're going to be going into the playoffs anytime soon. I'm pretty sure they're like third in their division right now, if not. Actually, might be last. No, Carolina Panthers. Can't forget about them.
Yeah.
Um, sorry, Carolina. But I do think this was a pretty good trade. I mean, they've now packed their draft up the Saints, and Washington got Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, he's been great at cornerback, and the Commanders are now building with Jaden Daniels on the side. And, good on the Commanders. They're going to be taking on the remaining portion of Lattimore's contract in 2024, just $605,000. 2025, $18 million, and then 2026, $18.5 million. I mean, that's not bad for some of the cornerback market right now. And with the way he's played, a veteran like him, with a lot of those young guys in the locker room, like that's not a bad pickup.
Yeah.
And with the Saints, they got some good picks.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think it was probably one of the most balanced trades that we saw at the deadline. I felt like the compensation that the Saints gave up, or that the Saints received, excuse me, and that Washington got. Man, I thought it was a good deal across the board. They get a Pro Bowl corner. They've been getting a lot better this season. At the beginning of the year, we didn't really think, the Commanders were going to be a team that would kind of be in this playoff hunt, but here they are. They get a veteran on the back end of the defense. I think it was great for both sides. That kind of leads me to the best deal I felt like kind of happened at the trade deadline, and that was another veteran cornerback, a Pro Bowler, All-Pro corner, Tre'Davious White. Long time with the Bills, played for them for a long time. He signed an agreement this offseason, 1 year, up to $10 million in incentives with the Rams. He's been hurt. He hasn't played every game this season, but they traded him to the Ravens for a 7th-round pick in 2026, and they gave up a 7th-round pick in 2027. So they just swapped late-round picks for drafts 2 years up in advance, and they bring in Trey White. I felt like this was an awesome move for them. If he can stay healthy, I think he'll be great on the back end of that defense for the Ravens, who are also in the playoff hunt. They're only going to be responsible for $750,000 for the rest of the season. So I thought that was a great deal.
Yeah, I think that's a good pickup. I mean, especially with some of the guys you got in the division, Jamar Chase, you got George Pickens with the Steelers, and just, going into the playoffs, like now that the Chiefs picked up DeAndre Hopkins, you're going to need some strong corners. You already got Kyle Hamilton in that secondary. Just keep loading up,
Right.
get some other guys, and like prepare for battle, pretty much.
Right.
So I
I
think
mean,
those by them.
they got Nate Wiggins, they got Marlon Humphrey, they got Kyle
Absolutely.
Hamilton. Like, I think that's going to be a pretty good secondary now. So I think they'll definitely be competitive. So let's talk about worst deals. So we saw some good deals, we saw some bad deals. Who do you think got the short end of the stick at the trade deadline?
So on this show, we're not going to try to be very negative, but there are definitely things that are just going to stand out that honestly, I'm already balding a little bit, and I'm sure that my hair is going to come out more from this season and just soon to come in the future. And one team in this league, I am just not as much of a fan of as I used to not really care. But why do teams continue to give the Chiefs weapons? What is it? People say like the NFL's not rigged, but then like we're just like, oh, here you go, Chiefs. Here you go, Patty. Why not? Just grab onto it. Why did the Titans trade DeAndre Hopkins? I don't understand it. Like, not only did they make this deal, but they only got a conditional 5th-round pick. And the condition on this 5th-round pick is if they reach the Super Bowl. So basically, what they were telling the Chiefs is, oh, yeah, we already know you're making it. Like, they told the rest of the league, too. They're like, we trust you. Honestly, they probably put a bet in. One of the players did after this trade went through. They're like, oh, yeah, DeAndre's going there. And, like, I just don't know what to say. I mean, Hopkins has plays 60% of the team's offensive snaps. I mean, what were they thinking? They had Will Levis, like they've been talking about, like, oh yeah, Will Levis, he's starting to, look pretty well. And like he's had a couple of pretty good games, not fully consistent, but with a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who played with Watson back in the day and was really killing it, and even with Murray at one point was not playing too bad. He's a pretty good veteran guy to keep around. No, let's just dish him off to the Chiefs, and he'll be like basically what I mean, you could think of, I have like 15 different guys you could think of that just get dished off to there and just start playing real well. I want to know what you're thinking with this because I just
Yeah,
can't
I
do that.
mean, I'm going to push back a little bit on this, Tony. So I actually think this was a pretty decent deal for the Titans because if you look at it, they only had a year left on the contract.
Sure.
And I know it's conditional, that conditional part you're talking about
Yeah.
to become a 4th rounder, but I believe it's a 5th rounder if that condition isn't met. So they're still getting some compensation, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's not terrible. They are paying $2.5 million of his salary, which I don't like.
I don't like that either. I basically said they're just paying him
Chiefs,
to go to the Super Bowl.
right. And the Chiefs didn't have the cap space to really get the deal done unless this was going to happen. I know they had to restructure Jawan Taylor's deal as well. So like they had to move some money around to bring him in. They had to get the Titans to pay some of that or they couldn't make the trade. But the Titans are 3-8 right now. They were 2-6, I think, at the deadline. So
Yeah.
they're really not. They don't really have a chance. This guy's a
No,
vet. Give him an opportunity to go play for a better team. I think that's the other way to kind of look at it. That's how I would kind of look at it. But I mean, I get what you're saying. Why do we keep giving the Chiefs all these guys, man?
The
Like,
only thing I would say, the silver lining of the Titans, if you want to look at it like this, because if you saw the game after he got traded, he was basically, doing the Remember the Titans dance or whatever. I don't know how it goes.
Yeah.
I look like an idiot doing it here. And like, they were saying it was him paying tribute. Just maybe players look at that and they think, wow, the Titans front office, they care about players, like they'll send them off the same way that the Bears sent Justin Fields off to the Steelers. Like those are some good guys. Like, they care about the players. But it's like, what does that do? That's fugazi. Like that's just kind of in the wind. Like, wow, they sent them there. They're just gonna be sitting on their couches and being like, "Oh, look at the Chiefs. We get a 5th-round pick. Wow."
Yeah.
I don't know.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, I want to get into my worst deal at the deadline. This one, I think, was a head scratcher for a lot of people. I don't think really anybody understands why the Cowboys did this. They traded for Johnathan Mingo. He was a 2nd-round pick, right? Yeah, 2nd-round pick in 2023. They gave up a 4th rounder, and the Panthers get Johnathan Mingo and a 7th. So this is kind of crazy. Or no, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. The Cowboys get Mingo in a 7th. The Panthers get a 4th-round pick. But this is crazy to me. So his catch rate over his first year and a half of his career is under 50%. He has, in 2 games so far with the Cowboys, 6 targets, 1 catch for 8 yards. I don't know what the point of this trade was. He's not really been that successful in Carolina. If they're already ready to move on from a guy after just drafting him in the second round this early, like, I think that speaks volumes to how they feel about the player. Obviously, like, wish him the best and hope that he can be successful for the Cowboys or somewhere else down the road. But from the Cowboys standpoint, I just can't make sense of that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Carolina is another story. But how about the Cowboys? Am I right? I mean, my gosh, like Jerry, somebody needs to take over, because when I saw this, I was like, why is this making headlines? Now I understand why, because
Right.
I mean, this is crazy. And like, also now that you got Dak hurt, and yeah, Cooper Rush is, they're beating the the Commanders on the weekend, which was crazy. And I'm sure Mike McCarthy's like, holy crap, thank God.
Yeah,
But
still have a job.
but I don't know what's going on over there. And yeah, just seeing this, it's just apparent, like, things are not being really thought through. They're just kind of being done, and I don't know what to see. I mean, the thing is like, a lot of people hate the Cowboys, but like, it's fun to see, like, when they're good, it's kind of like, rub your nose in it. But it's just like, I feel bad at this point. Oh,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to our next topic here. We're going to talk a little bit about the Giants next. And I know this is a topic that you're really passionate about talking about this week.
oh my gosh.
So Daniel Jones was released, and he just signed a 4-year, $160 million contract extension back in 2023. Now that he's being released, the Giants are going to have dead cap hits of $47 million this year. They've already paid out $36 million. And then they're going to have another $22 million cap hit next year after this release. He is getting waived. He cleared waivers because he's a veteran with 4 accrued seasons after the trade deadline. He did go on waivers. No one's picking him up because of that salary. It's huge. But now the really interesting thing is his minimum that he can be picked up for is $1.125 million for a season. But since we're already in week 13, someone can pick him up for $375,000 to be their backup for the rest of the year. I think that's crazy. So I'm assuming there's going to be some teams out there. I'm assuming he's going to try to want to go to a contender if someone's want to take him. And I'm sure someone will. Even though he hasn't been super successful with the Giants, he still has played a lot in the NFL over the last few years. But what do you have to make of that? And what do you have to make of what the Giants have been doing these last couple off seasons here?
Let me take a step back with you for a sec. Let's set the scene, Johnathan. In 2022, the Giants beat the Vikings in the wild card playoff when they were 9-7-1. Brian Daboll's running up and down the field. Daniel Jones is tripping over himself, making big plays. Saquon, which we'll get to in a sec, looking good, and John Maher's probably having a great time. This offseason hard knocks, you and I specifically are punching the air, punching almost our TVs too.
Yeah.
And just to clarify for anyone that actually decides to listen to this podcast,
Yeah, if there's anyone out
we're
there.
not in any front offices yet. We're not, but we hope to be one day. But my God, some of the things that Joe Shane was saying were hard to watch. For two people that would love to get into this, it was just difficult to hear it and take it seriously, because it was just, what are you doing? Like, and there's 2 pieces to the story, and you just mentioned the first one, Daniel Jones, who is now just released. And the second part of this is Saquon Barkley, the too old 27-year-old who just yesterday scored 2 giant touchdowns on a good Rams defense. They're not bad at this point in the season. And I don't know what to make of this. I mean, Daniel Jones, I have right here, as a starter, since he signed that deal, was 3-13 as a starter, threw 10 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. And you already mentioned the money number, which they're going to have to pay for. And we all go back to the same scenario. You could have franchised Daniel after that not bad season, because when you look back at it, it wasn't horrible what Daniel was doing. And people want to crap on him now, but like at that time, it was like, all right, let's see what he's got next year. Franchise him if you're still unsure. But Saquon years before had proved to you that he is not a normal running back in the league. Like he wasn't just some random guy. And all you need to do was sign Saquon to a few years if you were not comfortable with the super long-term deal, franchise Daniels, and if he doesn't do good, pick up a rookie quarterback. I mean, even your son, Joe Shane, in the documentary of Offseason Hard Knocks said, why not go with Jaden Daniels? So what did I do?
You only get this job once, Dad, right?
I did the math for you, Joe Shane. I won't pull it up for you on my cool Excel spreadsheet, but let's hypothetically say that all happened out. Jaden Daniels right now, through 12 games, better win record, better completion percentage, better passing touchdowns, less interceptions, more first downs per game, more yards per attempt. I could just keep going on. It's not even worth it at this point because it's all the stats. And obviously you wouldn't have gotten Malik Neighbors. You wouldn't have been able to, but you could have put something in there and maybe sparked the franchise if you'd, gotten rid of Daniel Jones earlier. But I don't know why it was worth it to spend that much money. Because, yes, he played well, but was he the guy? Like, nobody thought that. And we didn't either.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think just going back to that time, I feel like that offseason before he signed that extension, he's in year 2 of that contract now, right? So I feel like they probably felt like, what do we do? If it's not Daniel, what was it in that draft? And I think that, now, this past draft, they could have had Jaden Daniels or someone else. But
2020, like I put
it. But before that, who was it going to be? And then, Shane makes a lot of comments about the age factor there, running back. Like, I kind of get it to some degree, but at the same time, Saquon's different. Like, he's just a different player. Who cares if he's 26? And here's the thing too. Nowadays, if you want to get a contract done for a player like this and you're afraid of their age, get it done early. Like, you can negotiate deals after 3 years. They made him play all 4 years. They tagged him. He played a 5th year. And then, they may have not tagged him, may have been his 5th year option. It was one of the two, but he played 5 years. So he honored that 5th year. A lot of guys aren't doing that right now. Like Brandon Ayuk, like he doesn't want to even play, his full contract. He didn't want to play 4 years. Jamar Chase doesn't want to do it. Like, there's a lot of guys that have not wanted to do this. So, if he's going to honor and play 5 years on a rookie deal, then why not just extend him early? You know what I mean? And if you're gonna make him wait that long and play 5 years, then give him an extension afterwards, right? But I think they could have done an extension after year 3 or 4. It could have saved money, yada yada yada. But yeah, man, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to see the position they're in. I think it's tough for him.
And let me hop in with the age thing too, because Joe Shane, if you hadn't watched Offseason Hard Knocks and you're looking at this, definitely go take a look. It's definitely a fun experience in some respect. Joe Shane specifically continuously said that we shouldn't pay a running back that's 27 or older. We shouldn't put that much money into a running back that's 27 or older. I just looked up for you. The 2 MVP candidates right now, well, as of the Sunday Night Football game, of Saquon and Derrick Henry, 27 and 30. When they're players that are just great, there's a little bit of a difference. Like, yes, I get the idea of like, they hit a certain age, like the average guy, like just hasn't put up crazy numbers and everything. But before Daniel Jones, and even when he was around, the offense was run through Saquon Barkley. Like, it's not like Daniel Jones was airing it through the air, like making huge bombs. Like, yes, he had some rushing, but like it wasn't.
And the other argument that drove me crazy too was, he would continuously say, we don't pay a running back $40 million, or we don't pay a quarterback $40 million a year to hand the ball off to a running back. First of all, Daniel Jones is not a $40 million a year quarterback, but you paid him that. Don't you want to give him a weapon like Saquon Barkley to take some weight off of his shoulders? Instead, you're going to put all the weight on the guy's shoulders who obviously can't hold it. He just showed us he can't hold the weight. So why wouldn't you have just paid the guy? But
I would say it was more Dable than anything, rather than Daniel.
Right.
Right. Dable coached great that year. Like, they were winning some tight games, and like, it's not like they were blowing them out like 3 passing touchdowns a game. Like, they played good football. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we got a perennial all-star. The 40 at that year, I'm pretty sure was like not like top of the market, but like it was definitely not what he was worth, in my opinion, and our opinion.
Yeah.
But like, I agree. The comment that he made with you're not going to pay a quarterback $40 million to hand off the ball. Well, you probably shouldn't be paying him $40 million to begin with. $40 million a year. Like, maybe think about that.
So where do they go from here? What's the next step? If you're the Giants, man, I mean, you've got a huge dead cap hit from releasing Daniel Jones. So, I mean, what's the next step now?
Well, for starters, the first question I have, because this morning we actually thought that the 2 of them were fired, but we found out that wasn't true. I genuinely think
it's going to happen pretty soon, though.
I hope they don't fire Dable, because I think Dable is a good coach. I think that he did well with Josh Allen in Buffalo. I mean, he knew what he was doing. I think he's just got to get the right pieces. I truly believe him. But let's just hypothetically say right now that they just fired both Joe and him. I think that they should get Mike Vrabel. I think that you need a guy like, who am I? Why can't I think of him? Why am I blanking on it? Bill. Yeah. You need like a Bill Parcells type back in the Giants. A tough guy. Like, I feel like the Giants have lost that like edge to them, because I feel like I remember like the 80s Giants, Lawrence Taylor, you got Phil Simms, like those types of guys, like tough as nails. Like, and I feel like Vrabel would bring that. I mean, Malik Neighbors, honestly, like, he's showing somewhat of that. He's like, what the heck is going on? Like, I like that.
That's a frustrated guy right there.
I love it. And he's a rookie, and he's like, what is this bullshit?
Right. And you can tell he's a competitive player, and you can tell he wants it. Man, I feel bad for him because he's in a bad position. But I think so in terms of, you're talking about let's add some competitive guys, some guys with some edge to them, some toughness, some grit.
If you're going to say that they both get fired, because if they don't, then you got Joe. Let's just hypothetically say Joe sticks around, because now we'll walk Joe through cap space, QB market. I would love to have Joe on the show one day. That'd be great.
Yeah. So who's on the market in free agency that you're seeing that you think could make a difference?
Well, I guess if we start with the QB market, it's not looking too good.
No, it's not.
You got Sam Darnold, but that really is
He's played well this season.
He's doing great.
But how much of that is the roster he's on and the coaching he's getting?
And McConnell. Yeah, you can't deny that. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, you got Hawkinson, all the sins. Like, all the great around you.
Honestly.
It could be that, but at the same time, if I'm the Vikings, I see him as a really good backup. But the thing is the way he's been playing, his agent might ask for more.
Yeah, he's on a 1-year deal for around $10 million this year, I think. So I would think he's going to be at a much higher number. I would assume like he's a guy that if he continues to play like he did, he's going to be someone kind of in that like Geno Smith or like Baker Mayfield type contract, like a multi-year extension.
Yeah, that type.
Right, something like that. So yeah, I don't think the Vikings are going to do that with JJ McCarthy. I don't think that makes sense for them. So they're going to have to find someone as a backup. That's really what they thought Sam Darnold was going to be, I think. But he ends up. I mean, he's been playing great, but I think he's gonna go somewhere else. So you think that's a potential option for the Giants? Is what you're saying?
They could do it, and honestly, really, it depends on where they land in the draft. Because if you like one or two, I do feel like you can get a pretty quality rookie QB.
Mhm.
I mean, pairing him with you know, or pairing like Malik Neighbors with one of those younger guys, like having a good piece, and then the rest of your draft is just linemen, and maybe adding a few other pieces here and there. Just building from the trenches and out would probably be your best option. But then also another potential QB on the market that, if you don't get that, it depends on what's going on in Pittsburgh. Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. I mean, Tomlin's fond of Russell Wilson, but Fields has been thrown in there here and there. And depending on what the Steelers want to do moving forward, I get both of those guys are going to be free agents. And they're using them interchangeably. I mean, heck, maybe Justin Fields becomes like a Taysom Hill and they want to keep him on and just throw him in for some random plays. But I don't know, maybe one of those two guys as well.
I think if Justin Fields does hit the market, I think he'll have some opportunities.
Really
But
depends on the
it'll
draft.
be interesting. I mean, I think it'd be tough for them to keep both of them again for another season. Someone's
Yeah.
going to be walking for sure. But I think he's an interesting one because I don't really know what a contract would look like for him somewhere. It's probably going to be another 1-year prove it deal, which kind of sucks. But I mean, kind of is what it is. So, all right. So I think I'm with you on the trenches though. I think that's the place that I feel like they really have to invest the biggest. So, we're talking about Saquon going to the Eagles, and before we got on this call, you're talking a little bit about his statistics this season. I want you to get into that, but I was looking at PFF, and they currently rank the Eagles' offensive line in terms of run blocking top 5 this season, and the
Yeah.
Giants 23. So they have to really improve that offensive line. They tried to do it. They signed, I think they signed Jermaine Illuminor. I know they at least tried to. I think they did sign him, and then they signed another guard from. Oh, man, can't think of his name. I should have looked before we got on here, but they made a couple of
Hey,
off.
look it up now. I'll start rambling off some stats.
They made a couple offseason additions on the offensive line.
Yeah.
But I mean, nothing too spectacular. They spent quite a bit of money, but I would think that's an area they really got to get better at. I mean, they brought on terms of the defensive line. I mean, they got Sexy Dexy, Ryan Burns. I mean, I feel like they're pretty decent, but offensive line's got to get better during the offseason, I think.
I mean, yeah, the defensive line, that was a good pickup with Brian Burns. I mean, I think I saw he hasn't done too much this season, but still with the quality of play that he's had when he was in Carolina, he's used to having a team that's not like an entire defense. He kind of has been focal point in the past. But as far as just, because we were going to talk about the running back market, and don't worry, Joe, the oldest guy is 27 years old that we have on this list, so it'll be okay. They're all younger than that. But just to go back to Saquon and the impact that he has on the Eagles. And yes, they have you said PFF has them ranked pretty high with, their passing or their run game and everything. Through 11 games, just Saquon versus the Giants, Saquon's had 69 less rushing attempts. However, he's had about, he has 223 rushing attempts in 11 games. And the Giants had 292 rushing attempts in 11 games. But he has more rushing yards. He has more rushing touchdowns, more rushing yards per attempt, has a longest rush, which I'm pretty sure, didn't he do like a 70-yard one against the Rams last night?
He might have. Yeah,
He might
I
have pulled
didn't
off
even
two
watch it.
tonight. And then he obviously is going to have less fumbles because it's the entire Giants team. But, I mean, like I said to you before this call, Saquon, it was basically like letting an entire team offense walk away.
Right. It really was. I mean, it was their identity. But I mean, that's the thing that I think they've really struggled with. And we talked about this when we were watching Hard Knocks is what is their identity? Like you were just talking about you want hard-nosed, tough, gritty guys.
Yeah.
They don't really have like what do they have? What's their identity? It's not their quarterback. It's certainly not their running back because he's gone. what is it? It's not their defense. It's not that
Well,
great.
I mean,
I mean, like they don't have an identity. They don't have like when they go sign players, like they're just kind of like looking at, hey, what would be a good fit? Okay, maybe this guy, our scout likes this guy, sure. But like, does he fit what you're really trying to do? Does he fit like this culture, this brand you're trying to build? And it just doesn't seem like they're really doing
culture.
that.
Like
Like
what
I
culture
don't
is the
know.
question? Like
Yeah.
the thing is like here's the thing. Let's just hypothetically say, the Giants, Joe Shane, they're like, we're done being focused on a run game. We want to air it out. We got Malik Neighbors in the draft. This guy, they were throwing bombs to him. Like, let's do a spread type of offense. Let's just, have a good offensive line, protect Daniel Jones, and if he wants to break off a run here and there, go ahead. What you weren't doing that? Like, what are you doing? Like, you basically didn't change anything. You just got rid of good. And nothing has changed. And I agree with you. Like, unless they can kind of figure out who they want to be, and even if it takes a while, just figure it out. Like, you got to be someone. And, like, you have a brand that's meant for hard-nosed football. Stick with that.
Right. So I looked up that guy that I couldn't remember, the offensive lineman, John Runyon is who it was. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Anything else that you kind of want to cover about the Giants before we keep it moving here?
Yeah, I mean, just to mention some of those running backs that are available. If, Joe wants to get crazy, Javonte Williams is available. Chuba Hubbard's going to be available. Cam Akers. And then, you got Khalil Herbert that just got he's on Cincinnati now. He just got
he got traded.
Yeah,
but he's still going to be a free agent.
Yeah. And then I said this before they got rid of Daniel, but heck, whoever the rookie quarterback or whoever you sign, some wide receivers you can go with. Stephon Diggs is going to be available. I mean, you got T. Higgins. Really not a bad idea to pair him up with Malik Neighbors. And then, heck, you want to take a risk. We saw on the show that you're pretty close with a guy from the Panthers. Get Deontay Johnson. I mean, and then what I did want to talk about was the draft. They do have a pretty deep. Oh, what's going on?
Hold on a second. You brought up Chuba Hubbard, and I wanted to look something up real quick because I thought I saw they may have done an extension or they were talking about doing one. Oh, yeah, so he did an extension actually a few days ago. 4 years, $33.2 million, $7.5 million signing bonus, $12 million guaranteed at signing. What's that APY?
I'm trying to think. I don't know.
33 over 4 years. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just since you brought him up, I was like, man, I thought he just may have done a deal. That's $8.25 million a year. I wonder what that ranks overall. I just want to look at that real quick, but go ahead, keep going. Yeah. I know you're going to talk about the draft there.
Yeah, I was going to talk about their draft. So we didn't mention it before, but as far as because we mentioned free agency, I don't know if the cap space is still the same because obviously with the release, some of that dead cap might affect it. But from last time we checked, the cap space was at like 30 million. 30,577 might be a little bit different since the release of Daniel Jones. But really, the interesting part because I think that's where, if Joe Shane is still around, that is where he's going to have to save himself. And heck, maybe we'll have an offseason Hard Knocks Part 2 because it is going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a pretty good draft. Not for, people are saying it might not be the best QB draft, but I disagree a little bit. They got first-round pick. They got a second, third, 2 fourth-round picks, a fifth, and 2 sevenths. And just to stick to the kind of earlier rounds, first of all, if they are going to draft a QB, no more of this.
They have to, right? They have to, though, right?
They do.
Right.
But what I'm saying, at least word of advice, no more of this Eli Manning nostalgia. I do not need a lookalike Jackson Dart from Ole Miss or Garrett Nussmeier from LSU that's like, the in the pocket, maybe run a little bit type guy from the SEC. No, Joe Shane, or just the Giants. Get over that period of your life. Pick up Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward.
I was waiting for you to say that. So do you think Deion Sanders is going to let him go there?
Probably not. That's
Because
a
I
story
mean,
for another day.
that's the same thing that happened with Eli and his dad Archie,
Maybe
right?
players.
Like he
Instead
got
of
drafted
going to
to
the Giants, get me away
drafted to
from
the Chargers, right?
the
And then
Chargers. Yeah.
then the Giants traded for him. So like, will Dion do something like that? I think so. We could talk about that closer to the draft, but is that
We'll
something that's going to
definitely
be
talk
a
that closer to
problem?
the draft because I'm
Um,
interested to see how that goes. But I honestly think Cam Ward for Miami, I think
mhm.
that's a good guy. I think that with some good, that's where you could spread the offense out. Have him in there, big arm. That would be a
Yeah, I
fun.
mean, I think it'd be good to have a young quarterback kind of build that relationship with Malik Neighbors. I think that'd be great.
And
Um,
then hold on, I got one more because
okay.
this is what I was thinking before they wanted to keep Daniel Jones. But heck, if you want to get the running back game on, go all in, just like in the Hard Knocks thing, the whole poker analogy. Put all the chips in the middle of the field. Go all in on Ashton Genty. Just have a big running back. Replace Saquon. Be a run team again. Why not?
So that's how you replace them. But then what happens when it's time to re-sign them? Are we doing the same thing? Are we just,
No,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Are we getting out of that cycle?
Like I
I
said,
mean,
we'll
that's
have off-season Hard Knocks Part 2.
right. Um,
Boy.
okay, so do you want to kind of get into our next segment here, overperformers and underperformers?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
So
or you want me to start with it, or
yeah,
you want?
yeah, you go ahead first.
So yeah, we were gonna do this week to week, but since it's our first one, we figured we just kind of talk about on the season, the major NFL contract overperformers, who's been doing amazing on their contracts, like who's been doing more than what they've been paid, or who's been underperforming, who's been basically been paid way too much for what they've been doing. So I'm gonna let you start out, Jonathan. Tell me one or the other. Who do you think?
Yeah, so I've got an interesting one here, and it's probably a name most people don't know. It's Jalen McCullough, safety on the Rams. He's an undrafted rookie this year out of Tennessee. He's currently on the minimum P5, so he's just making, I say just making a few hundred thousand, but he's making a few $100,000, which is not a lot compared to his peers. And he only got a $15,000 signing bonus as an undrafted free agent. But he's been playing really well for the Rams. They've had some injuries on the back end, and he's actually played in 11 games. He hasn't started all of them, but he's played in 11 games. He's got 4 interceptions, a touchdown, 4 passes defensed, 22 total tackles, and he's got a 66.8 PFF grade, and 60 is average. So he's playing a little bit above average according to PFF, but he's had a lot of turnovers. He's been scoring on defense. And he's a guy that I think is absolutely overperforming expectations. I don't think anybody even still knows who this guy is unless you're a Rams fan. So this guy's just on fire. I think he'll continue to probably play well this season and hopefully throughout his career. But yeah, man, I think that's my overperformer of the season so far.
Yeah, I love seeing guys like this that, go undrafted. I feel like they're the bread and butter of teams, and especially a team like the Rams who always have some guys that just come out of the woodworks like Puka Nacua that came last year. And like,
Yep.
it's like, where did they find these guys? I mean, heck, Cooper Cup too. Like Sean McVay, like the whole front office, they just know what they're doing with finding some really good guys like diamonds in the rough.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's hear about yours. You got an underperformer or an
Yeah.
overperformer so far this
So
season?
I even put major underperformer. And obviously it's a pretty obvious one for everyone that would listen. But my God, is it Deshaun Watson? Holy crap. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone else on the planet right now agrees. One way, whatever your opinions are about him outside the football field, agreed, disagree, whatever. But, you know, I'm caring about the football right now. And my God, in 7 games this season, had a 63.4 completion percentage. And now he's injured, obviously. Jameis Winston, I don't know what happened. Jameis Winston playing like a god, but John Watson, 25th in yards at that time with 1,148 per ESPN, 26 in touchdowns with 5, 30th in QBR. I mean, and it was
Yep, it's
actually,
bad.
when you compare these stats, very similar to last year before he got injured, just through 6 games. So it's not like, oh my gosh, this year was worse than last year was. Oh, he was on a great season. No, like ever since he's been with the Browns, that fully guaranteed contract that they gave him a couple of years ago. And you know what the best part is, Jonathan? The best part of this all, because I know you love the numbers. The Browns are so screwed if they decide, let's just get rid of this guy.
They can't.
Oh, they cannot. They cannot.
Unless they can eat it, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
So he
it's
has
a lot of money
hit in each year of 2025 and 2026 of $72.9 million, which is in 2025, 22.7% of the cap. And then in 2026, 25. So basically a quarter of the entire
it's fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
And then let's just say, oh, yeah, let's just get rid of him. Let's release him. Oh, okay. Well, you're pretty much your entire cap is gone for a year because the dead cap, if you get rid of him this year, is $172 million in a cap hit for next year.
That's
I didn't even look at the cap space, but I know that's who else.
I actually did look up their cap space. So listen to this. So they restructured his contract a few months ago, remember? And they made a bunch of space for this year. So restructuring it, they pushed his money out to 25 and 26. Like you said, it's like $72 million each year.
Yeah.
But they made $44 million in cap space for this year. And they will be able to roll that over next year. Thank God, because they're negative $13 million next year.
Oh, jeez, already?
And they got a $72 million cap hit, you said, right?
I mean,
that's not going to work. So luckily they're going to move that $44 million over. And if they do that, they'll have a little bit of money back. But man, it's going to be rough. And then they have, I think, $2 million in 2026. So, I mean, it's tough. I mean, theoretically, if they roll this $44 million over, they're negative $13 million. That'll bring them to like, what's that? I'm not good at this small number math. I want to do it in the millions, remember?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I mean, theoretically, like they'll have enough space. They'll be at like $25-30 million next year after they roll that $44 million over. But man, it's just not a place I'd want to be in.
I mean,
but I mean, this is what happens when you sell your soul. And I mean, I still will never understand it. You know, you trade for a guy who's got all these off the field issues, and you give him a fully guaranteed contract. You trade a bunch of draft picks for him, and then he doesn't play. And it's like you can't do anything about it. Like,
I mean,
and then when he does play, you don't even want him to. You wish he wasn't playing. So
yeah, you just freaking signed Jameis Winston.
Yeah, re-sign him. I don't know why. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't re-sign Flacco.
Yeah,
that's what I didn't understand. Why I was surprised when they didn't re-sign him last offseason. But then when they signed Jameis, I'm like, okay, I like Jameis, but he's played really well for him. I think he's a very likable guy, and everyone likes him. But at least on the team. But man, I think at this point you got to hope you can get him back again, re-sign him, or find another backup because man, it's just a mess.
Yeah, and I'm looking right now, and I don't even think.
Are they a team that you even look at and say maybe they should draft a quarterback?
Well, I
think so.
A first-round pick.
I think they do. It's just going to depend on kind of where they're going to be at. But
I think
their team.
You got Jameis Winston winning a couple of games.
Yeah. I think
they do have one. Yeah, but see, I don't think you do because I just don't think you have enough.
I don't think Jameis is the long-term answer either.
I don't think so either.
And if you're in a position, you have to do it. If you're in the position to get a guy that you think is good, you have to do it, I think.
I think that honestly, a good player that, and honestly, I don't know if they would want to do this because it's within division. Justin Fields would be a fun guy to go to the Browns. And I feel like they could get him on cheap. But
they'd have to.
They'd have to, obviously.
They don't have a choice, but
I was going to say Sam Darnold, but I don't think they would be able to afford him if the way he's playing. But Justin,
that's the thing too. If I was Justin Fields, though, do I want to go there?
No, I wouldn't want to.
No, not with Deshaun Watson there getting all this money. No, I wouldn't want to go there, but I don't know. I know. I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I think that's their only option because they have a couple of games under their belt, and heck, maybe they lose all the rest of their let's see. What do the Browns schedule look like right now? 2024. I mean, they got the Broncos. They're probably and they
they're
got
gonna lose that.
Steelers,
Broncos will beat them.
Chiefs.
What's their record right now?
Their record right now is let's see what they're at. They're 3-8, so they're already kind of low down.
Oh yeah, they'll have a good pick then. Great, they can get a quarterback. I think they should.
Yeah,
I think they should, man. Even if Deshaun Watson has to stay on the team and you just don't play him and you pay him all the money, whatever. Like,
Jesus Christ,
I don't know. You got to do something.
that's just.
I think
That's a big
I don't know.
lesson.
I'll tell you who else is going to be interesting is Aaron Rodgers. Kind of getting off topic here, but he still has a year left on his contract. I think most of it's probably guaranteed. We could look at that. Why don't we look at
Well, we
Why
can
don't we look
talk
at his
about
contract
that.
real quick?
I think that going into, I'm curious to know like the retire. We can have a discussion about the retire contract type discussion.
So he is under contract through 2025, and he's got a cap hit of $23.5 million next year. I'm not sure how much of that's guaranteed though.
That's all right. We'll talk
So
about
a big chunk of it is his
Yeah.
prorated signing bonus, so they've already paid it anyway. But I think he is going to be an interesting one too, just to see do the Jets move on from him after this, because it seems like they've fallen apart too. But we can save that for a topic on another day.
Next time for sure. Let's do it.
Absolutely.
I actually like that because now we're talking this New York football team. We just talked Giants. We'll talk Jets next week. Just to keep the theme.
Right. All right. So you want to start talking about the CSFL?
Yeah.
So
I could jump right in.
Let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I just want to start out by saying, and I'm definitely an NFL homer, and I know you are for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But whoever out there said that a 12-team playoff would not make college football exciting, I don't know what you're doing or what you're thinking.
Who said that?
There's been plenty of people that have said that. But let me tell you, I have never been as invested in college football as I have been this year. And obviously the NIL stuff I've gotten really into. But my gosh, like every game seems to really have an impact and you actually care. Like just like the NFL, like it doesn't matter who it is. Like even if they have a couple of losses, you're like, holy crap, this could be a good year for them and everything. And I segue into that because obviously with progress comes an extreme. And not that I think this is a bad route, but I think that this is the next potential direction that college football is going. But I'd love to talk about the College Student Football League. So per The Athletic, they talked about an article, or they had an article about the College Sports Tomorrow Committee or advisory group that is discussing the possibility of a 136 football subdivision into two distinct conferences. What I mean by that is basically there's going to be like a Power 12 of like 72 programs that would consist of like a dozen 6-team geography-based divisions. So like just for reference, you would get rid of the usual conferences. So I know you mentioned before this, like, oh, it'd be like conference realignment. It'd be a little bit different than that, honestly. It would be get like a Midwest division where it's like Iowa, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio State, Wisconsin. It sounds like the Big Ten. And then, you get some other divisions like a Southeast one, which sounds like the Southeastern Conference, but it's based off stuff like geographic proximity, historic rivalries. You're still trying to keep that. But the interesting part of this is that it kind of gets rid of the AP polling, really, and it makes it very objective. So, they would be playing like a usual 13-game schedule, but they'd be playing people within their division in this format that they're proposing, the College Student Football League. And by the end of the year, there'd be like a 24-team playoff. And in that 2014 playoff, it'd be like, the top two from each division and everything. And then, it's basically an upgrade to the college football playoff. And then on top of that, there would be a group of 8 conference in a sense, which has 64 like the programs that are, like the MAC, the Conference USA, kind of those
Right.
smaller schools. But then what's kind of cool is that they give the opportunity for like promotion. Like in soccer and everything, you have the opportunity to kind of go up a league. Um, and then basically it would almost be like the NFL in the sense of, the teams would play like where they ranked in their division. Every year they play like teams in other divisions in that exact same rank. So it seems very cool. And it definitely seems like something is going to happen like this in the future, whether it's like a super league amongst Big Ten and SEC or something like this. I love this. I think this is cool. I do have some insights that I'd love to talk about, but I'm interested to hear what
Yeah.
you think.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's really interesting. I'm not sure if something like this would happen just because I know all the current conferences would theoretically in this situation be gone if they're not going to exist anymore, right? And they're not going to want that. But I do think it's a really interesting idea. I really like the idea of, moving up and down from, you call it the power 12 and group of 8, but it's really like moving up from like a power 5 or power 4 to like a group of 5 now. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of what it's like. But I mean, I think it'd be really interesting I think it'd make it more competitive overall, right?
Yeah.
I really like that aspect of it. But yeah, what are the insights that you're kind of
Yeah.
wanting to share here?
So from what I said, I have a few things about this, and I would love to, if you can, Jonathan, we could tag this article if we like post this somewhere, like on a
Okay.
YouTube or on YouTube, because we posted the other one on YouTube. But basically, I think 2014 playoff is way too much. I think
Yeah,
that
I think that's a lot,
that's way too much.
especially when you're taking the top 2 teams in each division.
Oh my
But what
god,
if the top 2 teams in that division lost more games than they won? Like, why would
it's
we
too
put them in there?
much.
So that seems
Like
ridiculous to me too. Yeah.
I think that, because then they're talking about doing like a 14 team playoff like the NFL soon, which that's already pushing it a little bit. I think 12 honestly is already great. And the thing is they already have it set up perfectly where since there's 12 power 12 conference, you just do the top division because then it makes winning the division super important. That's the first thing. Like you already have that. And heck, for the group of 8, you just have an 8 tournament for their like the group of 8 like between them. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because I think that, because I mentioned the promotion where the group of 8 they can pop up to the power 12.
Mhm.
I think that they should have an opportunity to come up, but then I think that the worst team from the power 12 should come down. Have some
Absolutely.
relegation. Make it mean something that they're losing games. So like what I'm proposing is kind of like, they have the bowl games at the end of the season. Do the group of 8 like tournament, the 8 team with the 8 divisions. Whoever wins the championship, now they're in a bowl game with the worst team in the Power 12 conference. And then
Yeah.
if they lose, they switch places. And then you have craziness every year. So you could start the divisions out like this from what we have, but then every single year you just have that one bowl game where it's like, are they going to get moved up or moved down?
There'd be a lot on the line. It'd be high stakes. I think it'd be really competitive.
It's
But
fun.
the biggest issue I see with it, and I think it's something I know we're going to talk about in the future on future episodes, but salary cap. How is this going to work with the House settlement and what that's going to kind of look like? Talks are maybe it's like a $20 million salary cap, but that's probably going to be for a lot of the. I would assume it's going to look more like that for Power 4 programs. So how does that look when teams are moving up and
Yeah,
down when they don't have the same amount of money? Is it
it
going to
is
be
a good
fair?
point. Yeah.
So, what happens when a team gets booted down, but then now they have more money? So I think that's another issue
That's
too
a good
that you'd kind of run into with that element. But I do think it'd be interesting. But
Yeah. And you did mention the one thing that I think would be the most curious aspect to this. Right now, all these conferences exist. And if you shift everything up, you either A, have to wait until all these TV deals are up with like Fox and ESPN.
mhm.
Like SEC's got a big one with ESPN. you got to wait like many years for this to occur before you can actually just put this all together.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
can't.
And now the Pac-12 is going to change next year, and it's
They're just
not going to
adding.
be like it was, but it's going to be somewhat competitive. There's going to be more than 2 teams in it. So yeah, I mean, everything is just the whole landscape is just changing, and there's just so much going
And they
on.
can't keep
It's
up, and
insane.
that's the thing. I don't think that this.
Right.
I would love for this to happen, but I think that getting everyone on the same page, especially when you had the NCAA, who was supposed to be the ones that kept everything together, it just would be impossible. But I will say that this would be more fun, in my opinion, than just having a giant Big Ten and a giant SEC clashing, because then you get everybody involved, and then every school plays a part. That's the only reason. And then I just wanted to highlight one more thing. You can't see the divisions, but like I said, we'll try and tag the article on our whatever we post, the YouTube episode and everything. If you look on it and you see the picture with all the divisions, I just wanted to highlight the one division that I thought would be incredible. I don't know if you can see it, but the Texas division, oh my God. Like it would be Baylor, SMU, TCU, Texas, Texas A&M, and Texas Tech. And what I actually put in here was that would basically be like Texas high school football on steroids.
Yeah, that's actually wild.
That would be such a fun division to watch because you got SMU in the potential playoff right now, maybe to win the ACC. You got Texas Tech and Texas, who we're going to bout off this week on a night where they're both ranked. And then TCU is in the championship just a few years ago. Baylor's usually not so bad. And Texas Tech, you got a good following there. That would be electric. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Be very competitive for sure.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good segue into our last little point here at the end. So who do you have for the college football playoff? Who do you think is going to go all the way? And then what's your Super Bowl pick for this year?
Yeah, our guy Ty, who's not here tonight, who will be in the future, wanted us to, make our put our bouts in. And we'll stay true to these. We won't change our picks. But starting off with who I think will win the college football playoff. And I know you're not happy with me that I'm picking them because they just beat your Hoosiers this past weekend. I genuinely think Ohio State is going to win it all. And I'll explain why. So it doesn't actually have to do with the fact that I think that they're the best team in the nation. I know that's crazy to say because it's like, why am I picking them? I think, you got them and you'll talk about it. I think it's a different team, but I think it's because of the way they have them placed in the bracket right now, or if things shake up the way they're supposed to. If they have it going the way it's supposed to, they'll be the number 5 seed in the playoff. And they might just have to play Arizona State and Boise State their first 2 games. Now I get it. Ashton Jeanty, Heisman race, hopefully, because, they're saying Travis Hunter might take it. But I think Ohio State can pull both those teams out. And worst case scenario, they play those 2 teams, beat them out, and then they have to play Oregon in the semifinals. And they just were very close against them earlier this year. I think they can win that. And then whoever they play on the other side, I'm really not too worried. I think it's going to be a Big Ten team this year.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm also going to pick a Big Ten team this year. I was really hoping, like you said, IU was going to be a little more competitive this past week, but I'm going to go with Oregon. I know they're kind of the consensus, right? They're the number 1 team in the country, been ranked at the top for a while. But when I look at them, man, they have a top 10 defense in terms of points allowed and yards allowed this season. Number 1 in total yards per game on offense in the Big 12, 11th overall in the Power 4. Put up 32 on Ohio State, and Ohio State only gives up 8.6 points per game on average this season against every team besides Oregon. So that's going to be my pick. But what about Super Bowl? Who do you have for Super Bowl?
So, Super Bowl, the year started off interesting where everyone was we didn't know who it was going to be. But I genuinely think that the Bills have a chance this year. I know that's usually said every year. I'm a big watching the Four Falls of Buffalo, ESPN 30 for 30. I'm a Bears guy, obviously, but the Bills, they got my heart the past couple of years, and I'm a big Josh Allen guy. They're first in the AFC East right now. They got the second seed in the AFC, and they still have a chance to get the first seed after beating the Chiefs. Things just have to shake up. They're third in the league for points per game, first in the league in turnover, plus minus. And once again, they got Josh Allen. So I do feel like they have a chance, especially on the AFC side. Like, yeah, maybe the Chiefs get that bye, but if they run into them again, I don't think you should be worried this year. I don't know. Just got a good feeling.
Bold prediction there. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be tough for them every year, like it always is, getting past the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there was a year to do it, maybe it's this year. I think Chiefs have been down a little bit this year compared to the last couple, but we'll see what happens. I think for me, I think it's the Lions, man. And I'm a Bears fan. I'm a Bears fan too, just like you. But it's hard not to root for them over the last couple of years. I love Dan Campbell. I love what they've done. We talked about grit earlier.
Yeah,
that like these guys have it. So yeah, they're first in the NFC North, top scoring offense in the NFL, top 5 rushing offense, top 5 passing offense, top 5 rushing defense, and third in interceptions this season. So they're doing it all, offense and defense, special teams. I love it. I love what they're doing there. I love the culture they've built. They've lost for so many years. They've been at the bottom of the NFC North. These last couple, they've been competitive. They almost got it done last year, and I think this is the year that they do it.
I think that you're not too far off. And honestly, I was going to say I would love to see a Bills-Lions Super Bowl.
Hey, that'd be crazy.
That'd be insane. New Orleans would not be able to handle that with what they got going. But, yeah, we'll get Ty to say his picks next week. We'll see what he thinks.
That's right. That's right. All righty. Well, I think that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, the last couple of things, we'll just rattle off a few. Just, make sure if you are deciding to listen to this, our Instagram is at Pigskin Payroll. Same thing with our X account. And on YouTube, it's at the Pigskin Payroll Podcast. And you can find our website at www.pigskinpayroll.com. Appreciate you guys all listening. We don't have any insights as to what we'll be talking about next week, but, that's just what makes it fun. We'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.
All right. See you, everybody.